Growing up, that was one of the challenges because I got to see arguments. I got to see doors slamming. I mean, there's sometimes when I would come home from visiting my dad, I would see doors and they were kicked in and they were painted up. I wasn't at the house 24/7, but the feelings were there 24/7 as far as like, how's my mom doing? I'm not home. How are my sisters? It was cause for anxiety to be brought up. How do you make a space that's safe, that you live in and day out, if there are these things going on, these occurrences in the house? It's so normalized. My friends were here, they heard the door slam. I did not know what to say.
PTSD is something interesting. It began as a symptom of being at war. You know, for veterans, the children living through trauma in the home is like a war zone. Parents or adults or whoever that's in their environment, they don't really know that their child is experiencing PTSD because of what's going on in the home. So because they don't know it, they don't know how to treat it. So it's very, very scary.
I can only speak on this because I've experienced it. There's a reason why some veterans act out, you know, in response to just like a plane or things like that. They're re-experiencing these emotions because it can't be processed. There's something going on within the brain-body connection that is not giving the body rest. As kids, they respond so much more strongly and they take in so much more because they're experiencing everything for the first time. A lot of these kids, they are in a war zone. They have no sense of control of what's going on in their environment, and their environment is out to get them. And it changes the brain where they do lash out, they do act out, they do respond because they're feeling attacked. Yes, a lot of the stuff is going to be out of their control, but what do they do have control over, you know, their little world? What is their level of skills that they already have? You know, what are their strengths? And kind of nurture those skills. That's what helped me out. That's what helped out me with my sisters. And there were a lot of challenges where I just didn't get along with them, with my sisters or my mom, or I lashed out a couple times too. And it was very much, well, this is not so much them, it's more me and my responses. I think that when it comes to PTSD and domestic abuse, we've came a long way because this is now a space that the average person can talk about.
Empaths feel everything and they absorb the emotion in the room, in the people, they absorb everything. When they experience domestic violence and domestic abuse, they're absorbing everything at an exponential level. How can that look?
Being an empath, highly sensitive people when it comes to domestic violence, and a lot of these highly stressful circumstances requires a lot more time to process things. I remember sometimes when I would hear doors slam, I would wait for the car to leave, hear anything, close my eyes and just take a deep breath and focus on things and really gather myself and get myself together and just make sure I was in a calmer state. Closing your eyes kind of reduces the amount of external stimuli that already goes on, and it focuses more on just internal processes. And then carry on as somewhat of a normal day with my mom and my family, and kind of got me through those particular circumstances. I didn't let it stop me from doing the day-to-day functions that I needed to do. Some of that was needed to just create an internal sense of space and comfort. Those who are experiencing traumatic events and trauma, taking in such a huge experience, any kind of circumstance that follows afterwards, take some time to recharge, and then start creating those narratives that will help build strength and create support in your circle. And seek out support from your mentors and those who have lived through the path and had been through those experiences. And how did they come up? Some partners, they don't get to see the other end of this. Some of the abusers, they walk away just unscathed. And some of the victims, they end up being in a homicide case, in a suicide case. And it creates just a lot of these challenges where not a lot of people get very lucky with that. Those are a lot more extreme cases, a lot more serious cases that do need to involve partners and family members to have a concern. One of the bruises is going to stop because eventually there's not going to be any more bruises and more cuts. There's going to be funerals and there's going to be bones that are broken. If safety is no longer part of the equation, then It's time to get more involved, get help, lawyer up, get some cases, and take this to another realm that will better support the families and the victims. These people got valid feelings and valid stressors that are going on, and bringing that sense of comfort, that sense of warmness, will allow people to open up in a space that, like, you will never see in a crowd. Having the conversation at least brings reality and realness to a lot of these concepts that are going on. Some of the clients that I work with, they had cases for domestic violence, and the growth that she had done was very, very helpful. She was very, very emotional when I first saw her, and then at the very end, she was like teaching her partner, like, hey, like, this isn't about you and me, this is about our kid. This is about our family. If they can communicate that in a safe space where they don't feel like they're going to get rejected or declined or neglected, then great. And honestly, to get some behavioral support for the abusers too.
Creating that space for abusers is just as important as creating that space for survivors. 9 times out of 10, it happened to the abuser in childhood, and that's what created the whole thing. That has to be dealt with, of course, but they have to be helped. There are underlying issues that have to be dealt with in order to eradicate domestic violence as a whole.
For the longest time, I didn't want to forgive or forget a lot of these issues that happened. I didn't want to forget them, and I didn't. And if it was me on the other end, I would have asked for forgiveness too. So wherever he is, I hope he's kind of in a better space. I hope he kind of got a lot of the support that he did. How can we continue to stick through a lot of these challenging times, and still better yourself at the end of the day? Creating the space to speak about it, creating the conversations around it, just so that way for others to become more educated on it.
You don't push them to express. You leave that space open and let them know that they can come in whenever they want. But yet you stand firm, and you don't let the people who are trying to shut you down. It takes compassion, it takes safe spaces, it takes family.
Some of my mentors that I've worked with in the art field, some of my mentors in the community mental health field are still somewhat of an extended family. These guys have supported me in some way, shape, or form that has helped me benefit myself. I don't know where I would be right now if I didn't have a lot of these strategies, a lot of this support. I'd probably be burning some other people. Faith and meditation, those are strategies that allow the brain to repair itself and to grow. When you get yourself into a meditative state, the brain resonates at a higher frequency. That only happens when you're asleep, or if your brain is like on top of it. And it really allows metacognition functions. It really allows higher level thinkings, where you get to replay out all of these scenarios, and you get to see it from a bird's eye view, where you get to understand, like, okay, like, how am I in that situation? So it engages a lot of self-reflection, and it really allows your mind to kind of just work itself out in a safer space. I really admire your project. Having panelists and having interviewers and people of different walks of life and different paths will just really increase the awareness of domestic violence. I'm hoping that it really inspires more research into, the trauma brain and different neural pathways. So that way, how can we reverse the damages? How can we create a space where the brain rewires itself, so that way they can learn more strategies that will benefit them?